When you fight for freedom in a dictatorship, you have three options: exile, prison, or death. Maduro was not the president. He was a dictator who seized power. You have criminal gangs and police working together to oppress people. They would check your phone, and if you are sharing news from what's happening to Maduro, Maria Corina Machado, Donald Trump, they can put you in jail just for that.
Nicolas Maduro was unexpectedly captured from his home in Caracas by U.S. Special Forces in January 2026 on U.S. federal charges of narco-terrorism. The unprecedented operation has drawn international criticism, raising fears of escalation and economic fallout in Latin America. However, it has sparked widespread celebration among the millions of Venezuelans who were forced to flee their home country due to ongoing political repression and humanitarian crises. Andrés Briceño is one such Venezuelan currently living in exile due to his political activism against Maduro's authoritarian regime. In this episode, Andrés dissects the rise, fall, and future of Maduro's regime, sharing first-hand experiences growing up under the rule of Maduro and his predecessor, Hugo Chavez. Thank you for listening to the Exchange Room podcast. I now present to you our discussion. Welcome to the podcast. Why don't you tell everyone a little bit about your background in Venezuela? What was your life like growing up in Venezuela?
Thank you for having me here. I was born in Venezuela in 1998. As I was growing up, I could see how my country slowly was getting worse and worse, like the situation. I would see how the shopping cart for the groceries would get smaller and smaller. And Chavez came to power in 1999. So growing up, that's all I knew. Chavez did a lot of programs to help the people, like providing free housing, give away free food. I saw how these programs that sounds very good turn into not being that good, or you would see the consequence of that in the economy as well. Inflation going up and up and up and up. And 2016 was a very tough year for Venezuelans. There was a lot of scarcity of food and basic products. So you would see people eating trash from the streets. And this is not homeless people. This would be people that probably just got off work. They need to eat. So they would dive into the trash looking for something to eat.
What caused that to happen?
The government at the time, they took control of the means of production, and they control the prices as well. Let's put random numbers. If to produce flour, it costs you $1, but the government says, "Oh no, you have to sell this product at 50 cents." It makes no sense for the business person to produce this product and lose money. So that's why you would stop seeing the products in the supermarket. They even control when you are able to go to the store. It's not like you could go anytime, any day to buy something. No, it would depend on your ID. For example, mine ends in 6. I will be allowed to go to the store just on Wednesday, and you cannot buy a lot. They will control how much you can buy. So instead of buying, I don't know, 4 packages of flour, no, you can just get one, and just one bag of rice, one bag. And that's how you control society. You control when they can go to the store, what they can get from the store. You cannot choose the product that you want. It's whatever it's available. That was a reality that for me was normal. That's all I knew.
What did the population as a whole feel about Chavez and Maduro? Was it initially, did they really like the regime, and over time they didn't? Like, tell me about the whole view of them.
I have to even go back before them, because Venezuela's democracy is something relatively recent. During the 60s is when we finally got our democracy. There was a dictator called Marcos Perez Jimenez in the 50s. Some people say that he was like a good dictator, if there could be such thing as good dictator, because the economy of Venezuela was very up, and it had the potential to be one of the world's greatest economies. At some point, it seemed like it was, and there was a lot of investment in infrastructure. And then during the democracy, we had two parties switching the power between them. You had AD and COPEI. Those are two parties. Like here you have the Republicans and Democrats. Each term it was a different party, so it was just a bipartisan thing, and people got tired of that because the independence parties didn't get a chance to get into the elections. And then in 1992, Chavez was a military man. He did a military coup to the president at the moment, Carlos Andrés Perez, which failed. But a lot of people died during that, and Chavez went to prison. But that's what really sparked his popularity, and all the media really helped his popularity to become. At one point, he was like, "We tried and we didn't succeed, but we'll go back." 2 years later, he was released from prison from a different president. And in 1998, the term of that president ended, and Chavez went to the elections. We had this like anti-politics from people who were tired of the two parties changing the baton from and another. So people just wanted something different, and they all voted for Chavez. But after Chavez won the election, he was this big popular leader. He established what he called the socialism of the 21st century, and that was his whole ideology. Like he started a new ideology and the revolution for Venezuela. He started this propaganda, and people started noticing that that wasn't good. So in 2002, there was a lot of protest against Chavez and trying to get him out of power, but that didn't succeed. And there was a stop in the oil and gas industry as a protest. It kind of worked, and we got rid of Chavez for probably like a day, and then he came back. He took his mask off and he showed himself as the dictator that he was. But still, he was very popular to some people, and he was giving away a lot of free stuff. People were loyal to not Chavez, but to the free stuff. And people got used to getting everything free, They will deliver a box to your house with groceries, clap boxes. Clap was the name of this. In reality, it wasn't the best produce, but it was free, and people love. But it wasn't for everyone. It was for the popular regions, and it was with one condition. So you support him. You would, and when you vote for Chavez. That's how they control you.
Yeah, well, it's buying voters. That's the goal.
Yeah. And by the way, so behind the scenes, they would make deals because they would import this produce from, let's say, Mexico. It was probably like the worst produce that they got. They overinflated the budget and, get it in their pockets, whatever what was left, especially military who would participate in all these deals and start getting more money because Chavez figured out that you keep the military happy and you control them. That way they will protect you. So he controlled the military, and slowly he started taking over the different institutions, the legislation, the justice, and also the electoral power. So all the powers that, I mean, in a government are there for a reason to keep the executive power on check. They were now in control of the regime.
How did Maduro come to power?
In 2012, Chavez died of cancer. But before he died, he made sure to call his successor. He literally went on TV. He's like, Nicolas Maduro is my son. He's my successor. Vote for him because he will follow the revolution. And again, they control the media, they control the propaganda. And I forgot to mention, there was a moment in 2007 where he shut down one of the media channels, RCTV. He shut down a whole channel just because they were against him and or telling the truth to people. That's when I see people protesting on the streets, like flooding the streets, defending the freedom of speech. That's when I really saw, okay, that's what a dictatorship looks like. And there were a lot of students killed during those protests. And moving forward, during Chavez terms, he extended the term of the president. It went from 4 years to 6 years. And, he started changing the laws. So now the laws is not for justice, it's to fit what they wanted to do. So he dies in 2012, and 2013 there's elections, and the opposition leader at the moment was Enrique Capriles, and so Enrique Capriles and Maduro. There's people who say and believes that Enrique Capriles won those elections, um, but he never defended the results, and Maduro won. Um,
Well, where's the conflict? What makes people think that it wasn't a legitimate victory?
because at that point, the regime was not popular between the people. Like, and I don't have the numbers or statistics of approval of the regime, but people didn't like Chavez and they didn't want Maduro. And yeah, then in 2013, Maduro wins the election and he came to power, and all of a sudden the oil prices go down. Now we start to feel in everything, because when oil prices were up, they were able to finance all their mistakes and everything. Like, people were not feeling it just yet, but on a country that depends on oil, as the prices go down, our economy goes down as well. So 2014, there was another wave of protests against Maduro now, because we didn't want Maduro, and it was to let the world know that we want Maduro out. And in these protests, again, they would use violence against people. They had the National Guard shooting not just tear gas, but also bullets. And
Real bullets.
sometimes even real bullets. You start to see the oppression on the streets, and you cannot talk badly against the regime. And they had propaganda that they used the eyes of Chavez, and they painted that all everywhere in big buildings and huge eyes, like if Chavez was overseeing everything.
Well, that's 1984, straight out
Yeah,
of the book.
yeah, that's
Big
a
Brother
big
is
brother.
watching.
Yeah, and they would say, "No se habla mal de Chavez." Like, we don't talk badly about Chavez, because if you did, they would come after you, and they would use the military police to come after people. That's what I grew up in. And the thing is, people would adapt to all of these small changes. It was slow process. It wasn't overnight that, all of a sudden, okay, we're in an economical crisis. No, it was slowly, and people just adapt to it. Do you know this allegory of the frog in the pot with the
Yeah,
boy?
frog and boiling water.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's how they got us. At one point, when we realized, oh, this is too hot, the water was boiling. It was too late.
At what point did you get involved in politics?
In 2017, because after a full year of humanitarian crisis that I would see with my own eyes, I just turned 18. I felt the civic responsibility to participate. I would go and protest. I was there risking my life because, like I mentioned, sometimes the National Guard would shoot real bullets. And I remember one time I was protesting and a car just pulled up and started shooting at us. No notice, nothing. And I could hear bullets just going like, I mean, that was dangerous. I would see, not on the news, but on social media, they would post about other students who were killed. And I can mention some names, like Neomar Lander was a case that really hurt people, because he was just a kid, probably 16 or 17, and he got killed during one of the protests. And just like Neomar, a lot of kids and young people were dying on the streets. So I'm risking my life here without knowing what's happening. So I wanted to understand the game. So that's where I decided to join a political party, because, okay, I want to understand politics. I don't want to be just someone risking his life on the front lines. I want to understand how the game is played. I did my research on the different political parties in Venezuela, like what were my options. But I didn't like what the majority of them had to offer or their ideas. And that's when I fought Vente Venezuela. I agreed with their ideas. And as I got eager to learn more, they offered me the position to be like the youth education coordinator for the party. And I saw that as an opportunity to learn and also teach people. So I would book events for to bring speakers and talk about Adam Smith, John Locke, Milton Friedman, you know, all these fathers of economics to understand what was going on in our country.
And what were the values of that party, by the way?
Free markets and capitalism as a way to solve the issue of Venezuela. Vente Venezuela is the party of freedom. Freedom is the biggest value. In Vente, we recognize individuals, their goals and dreams.
And so it's because of your involvement in this party that you eventually had to leave Venezuela, right?
Yes, and let me go back. I forgot to mention that when I was at the Carabobo University, I started a student organization because that's where I felt that I could have an impact. I started Desarrollo, which means development. It was focused more on the academy and debate of ideas. And then that's what I had to offer to the party as well, to have a representation inside the university. And I believe that the change we want to see in Venezuela, it have to come from the universities. And historically, it was student movements which bring freedom to Venezuela. And we can go back to 1812. Since the independence movement, really students were the ones who were defending freedom. And then again in 1914, we had another dictator. And then in 1986, we have another generation of students. 2007, when they closed a news channel, there was another wave of students who wanted to defend freedom. So I felt like that's where I could start, start the spark to bring freedom to Venezuela. I was just organizing events and bring speakers to talk in the university or organize students and get them to rallies. When there was an election, I would open a safe space for people to talk and express their opinions of, oh, should we vote or not? Because in a country where the regime controls the electoral power, do you really have a choice on on the elections? And they already know the results before you even go to vote. So some people were, okay, should we even vote? And you're like, why care? So I made these events to tell people, why do you have to care? In a dictatorship, ideas are dangerous. The solution of Venezuela had to come from ideas and try something new.
How did you end up needing to leave the country because of your involvement?
Fast forward to 2019 to 2021, I moved to a different universities and I moved to Caracas. And in Caracas, my success in the party grows as well. I went from being in a local chapter to be in the national team of political education. I work closely with very talented people, Pedro Ruchurtu, Edmali Mauco, and Anderson Riverol, who were like my mentors in the party. I started developing some projects in our own party that was the simple things. One, I call it Café Vente. It was just to gather people to drink coffee and talk about topic trending at the moment. Simple ideas become popular. My name starts getting popular as well. And again, in the dictatorship, ideas are dangerous. So I became a target. And I would see political police following me. I know I was in some of their lists. When you fight for freedom in a dictatorship, you have three options. You have exile, prison, or death. So for me, it was an easy choice. I chose exile. And when I saw that my friends were getting imprisoned or disappeared, like sometimes they would just disappear and you don't know where they are. You just know that they took them. I lay low for a little bit, even though I would always protect myself. I never post on social media. And you start to have a auto censorship because you're afraid that they would come after you. I would never express my opinions on social media. I did these events, but I never posted about it. But I knew that still they were after me. And at one point, I decided to leave for my own safety. And I came to the land of the free because I wanted freedom.
Fast forward, you're here in 2026, and we've seen that significant development with Maduro being captured. What is your reaction to that and the effects it's had?
I'm happy. I'm happy. This is the best news that we've got. Many Venezuelans have prayed for this for many years. We have prayed for help because we have tried all the democratic ways and peaceful ways to overthrow a government. We have tried everything. There's books with peaceful ways to overthrow a regime. We've done everything, never succeeded. So we really need help to get out of this. When I saw the videos, it was late at night, on January 3rd. I saw the videos of the bomb beams and okay, what is this? And nowadays everything is AI. I was skeptical at first, but then I mean, I see who was posting the videos. It was my friends from Caracas and who were also involved in politics. Okay, they're not gonna post fake news. This is probably legit. And then when I see the epic picture of Maduro, his jumpsuit on his way to the US, man, I was so happy. I could have never believed if someone told me, "Oh yeah, they just captured Maduro and it took just what a couple hours, the whole thing." I wouldn't have believed that it was too good to be true, but it happened. We are happy. That day I celebrated with my family. We like 3 times, that day was full celebration, and that was just my family, but there were people going out, in the streets outside of Venezuela celebrating, but the people inside of Venezuela, they're happy about it, but they have to stay quiet because the regime is still in power.
So what's happened since then? Because they now have a new standing president.
Yeah. So first, we have to clarify that Maduro was not the president. He was a dictator who seized power because the president of Venezuela was elected on July of 2024, and it was Edmundo Gonzalez. People voted for him, and he won by a landslide, like 70% of the votes, because the Venezuelan people we still believe in democracy, and that's what we want. So Maduro was no longer a president. He didn't win those elections, but he never stopped controlling the military, and that's who protected him in his position. And then we saw that there was a lot of Cuban military also involved. Why was he protected by 32 Cubans? So yeah, they extracted Maduro and Celia Flores. Good news, that give us hope for a change, hope for freedom. But in Venezuela, the regime is still in control. It's like a hydra. You take off one of the heads and you have several more. The person who's now interim president, Delcy Rodriguez, she's part of the regime, and she is has been responsible for the capture of these political leaders and then the tortures. Uh, she's responsible for that. So she's not innocent. She's part of that force of evil that sees Venezuela and taking our freedom. So she's part of that. But I understand that transitions are a very complex process that we're not going to gain freedom overnight. It's not like I expect, oh, Maduro is gone and now we're free. No, it's not as easy as that. I can tell you that I'm happy to see criminal who has caused a lot of damage to my country and to many families in Venezuela face justice. And he's getting a good treatment that many people inside of Venezuela don't get, especially prisoners that just for thinking different, do you get thrown in jail? They get in torture and living in very inhuman conditions. The charges that he's facing here in the US is just for the drugs and guns trafficking. He needs to face justice for the human rights violations that he has committed to individuals in Venezuela. But that will come later. Right now, I'm just happy that he's there. And with this transition and the United States administration keeping the interim president on check, that's something positive. It wouldn't been good if they just extracted Maduro and then just leave. Nothing changes. We'll see what happens. So far, I'm happy that many political prisoners have been released. I have friends that were in prison for over a year and now they are free because, I mean, they're not in jail, but they put a lot of conditions on. They cannot talk to the press. They can not speak about it on social media. So, okay, they're not in prison, but I don't feel like they're totally free. But I'm happy to at least see them. I see pictures and videos of my friends who I haven't seen in a long while. They're okay. I mean, they're still alive. That give us hope, and so it makes me happy to see them. That now at least they're back home with their families. We'll see what happens with the economy. The United States is helping a lot, sending millions of dollars so the Venezuela economy can recover and invest in infrastructure. But we also have to see who's in power and controlling these funds that are coming into Venezuela. The regime that have stolen the resources of Venezuela for many years. I don't trust them. The Venezuelan people don't trust them. So we need to see a real transition of power and have people that we trust to bring back the rule of law in Venezuela.
Do you have any thoughts on what the best steps the United States should take or what should happen in Venezuela to make sure that happens?
I'm no expert, but I trust they know what they're doing. The operation that they did was surgical. They went in just for a couple hours and no American casualties, which it is amazing to see that operation. But they need to trust Venezuelans that we know our country and we know what's best for us. But the people who are in the regime, they're not looking for what's best for Venezuelans. They're looking for what's best for them. They're trying to save their asses, and they're afraid because now they see that there's a chance they can face consequences for their acts, which in the past all their crimes went unpunished. Okay, now they have to pay for it. So a lot of people are afraid in Venezuela right now. We have the colectivos, which is like an organized criminal gang that work for the regime. They're in the streets, controlling civilians, like making checkpoints on the streets just to check your phone. And the police also does that. So just you have criminal gangs and police working together to oppress people. They would check your phone, and if you are sharing news from what's happening to Maduro, Maria Corina Machado, Donald Trump, like they will actually look for these names on your phone. If you have anything involving them, they can put you in jail just for that. So,
That's scary.
yeah, there's no freedom to share news, not even make an opinion, just sharing news. It's forbidden. So, people in Venezuela are happy but they're scared. They can't celebrate like many Venezuelans did outside of Venezuela in different countries, that they flooded the streets dancing and celebrating. They can't do that just yet. Bring some kind of trust that people can actually express themselves first. And we need to have elections because we don't want Delcy Rodriguez ruling Venezuela. If they don't want to recognize the elections that was celebrated in 2024, let's have new elections. But you have to allow Maria Corina Machado, who represents the majority of Venezuela, to run. And we are very hopeful. Maria Corina, she just won the Nobel Peace Prize. She met in the Vatican with the Pope, and recently she met with President Trump. So she's making the right moves to representing the will of Venezuelan civilians outside of Venezuela. I mean, she's our voice for the people that cannot really say what they want to say. And I cannot know what's going to happen, but I trust these individuals who are leading the way. Maria Corina Machado. In the United States side, we have Marco Rubio and President Trump leading this. So I trust them. And we have millions of Venezuelans around the world. There's 9 millions of Venezuelans out there. And most of us, we just want to go back home. Once it's safe to go back, many of us will go back to rebuild our country. And I'll be one of the first one because my dream is to see Venezuela free and I want to be part of the rebuilding.
Do you trust the US government's intentions because there's a lot of economic motivation when it comes to oil and resources. And I think a lot of criticism is people are skeptical of whether this was really about freedom for the people and more about an opportunity to grow the US economy.
Yeah. So I can use the allegory of the bread maker. He bakes bread to feed the people, or does he bake bread to make profit? You know, but the end is that people get fed because they pay for the bread. And I see a lot of people on social media now very concerned about Venezuelan oil. I can tell you, my 27 years, this is the first time that I see Venezuela oil actually giving us something. It's giving us freedom. So if that's the price of freedom, take it. Please, that's all we want. People give freedom for granted. It's easy when that's all you know. Say this to all the Americans watching. You have grown into a free country, but just learn to know freedom. This is something precious, and freedom is something that is not negotiated. It's something that you have to conquer and defend every day.
What do you think Venezuela, its people, its culture, what makes it great that the world should know about?
We just want to be happy. And there was a moment, I think it was 2010 or 2011, where the economical and political crisis was very bad. And we still rank it like the happiest country of the world because nosotros somos echados para adelante. We always want to move forward and we adapt to situations. We're very resilient. The people who stayed in Venezuela and have suffered all these years during the regime, my admiration goes to them. And I have family and friends who are still in Venezuela, and they survive somehow in the struggle. And then the people who left, like me, that have to learn new things that they never expected to do. You'll see many Venezuelan professionals that are outside of Venezuela and now have to redo their whole lives and do jobs that is not what they were prepared for, like an engineer cleaning tables and toilets and that kind of stuff. We will learn from all this experience. And I feel the 9 million Venezuelans who are out there, we're ambassadors of Venezuela and what we have endured. And we'll take all of those experiences back and rebuild a better country.
My final question, you can answer this with regard to Venezuela or to any other aspect, but what is something you've learned from your unique life experiences you think everyone should know?
I have to say here, all my opinions and everything I say, it's my own. It doesn't represent any of my organizations because I'm going to talk about Rotary now because Rotary is a big part of my life. I'm very passionate about serving my community everywhere I am. Now I'm here and I volunteer a lot. I'm always out there helping people, making connections, creating lasting impact on people's lives. There was a point where I thought I I was finally making it, and and then life can change in a second. I had a car accident which changed my life in the way I view life because being so close to death, it was a very bad car accident. Makes you see life from a different perspective. So I treasure the small moments and connections with people. I have realized that when you give back for your community will be there when you need them the most. It happened to me. Rotary became my family after my accident when I really needed help. This community where I invested so much of my time, they were there for me. I had a lot of Rotarians going to visit me in the hospital. And for me, that's inspiration. I want to be that for other people. So I'm starting a new project called The Next Step because I want to help people on their next step in life, helping them getting back on their feet.
Thank you for coming on the podcast. I
Thank you
think
for
your
having me too.
story is incredible and I learned a lot. I hope that the listeners do as well. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And I hope that you guys get something out of this. I'm just a random Venezuelan amongst all the millions of people that are outside. And I hope that I was fair to all of those who cannot use their voice inside of Venezuela to express what they're going through. I hope it was fair to them as well. And thank you for having me.